The following video was recorded during ArcVic's 2015 OCD and Anxiety Week seminar. To see more segments from this exciting yearly event, or to learn more about ArcVic's helpline, support group, recovery programs, and community and professional education training, please visit the ArcVic website at www.arcvic.org.au.
Our first speaker today is Dr. Wendy Knight, and Wendy is going to talk about horses for courses. She's a clinical psychologist and will give an overview of variety and therapeutic approaches, acknowledging that no one size fits all, which I'm sure we'll all agree. Different approaches for different people. So please welcome Dr. Wendy Knight.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about anxiety from my own personal experience and from working with people. And some of my personal experience comes from doing retreats and ending up in quite an overwhelmed state of anxiety, and how I could find my way out of it after that process. What I'm going to talk on, I'll reflect on what's helped some people and what's helped me. Take what I say with a grain of salt, because what helps me might not help you. But I'm going to take you through an experiential sort of process. And I'm just putting forward at different times, different things work. So when someone's very overwhelmed, different things work when someone's not so overwhelmed. So if you're happy to, I'm just going to take you through an exercise. And if you're happy to shut your eyes to do this exercise, if you're not happy to, you don't have to. And just see if you can go along with what I'm doing. Can everyone hear okay?
Sure.
Okay, so all I want you to do at the moment is be curious about what happens. Be comfortable in your chair, you don't have to sit upright. And taking your feet, your attention down to your feet. And what I want you to do is I want you to crunch your feet back to your heels. And with your mind, I want you to feel that tension in your feet. And when you can feel that tension in your feet, I want you to keep your mind on the feet, and I want you to just let the feet go. Let the muscles go and feel it with your mind. Then taking the attention into the legs and feeling the legs. And I want you to tighten the legs as tight as you can get them. Create tension by tightening the legs. And when you can feel the legs are tight with the mind, keeping the attention on the legs with the mind, and letting the legs go. Let the mind feel the letting go of the legs. Just noticing the difference when they're tense to when they let go. Then taking the attention to the buttocks and the pelvic area, and tightening the buttocks and the pelvic area as tight as you can, and feel the tension as you do this. Keeping your mind on that tension, letting your mind know what that tension feels like. Then letting the muscles go while you keep your attention on that area. Feel the letting go of the muscles. There's nothing you have to do, just notice the difference. Then taking the attention into the stomach and the lower back. And feeling the stomach and the lower back as it is now. And then clenching the stomach as if someone was about to hit you in the stomach. And letting your mind feel that tension and know what that tension feels like. And then while keeping your mind on the stomach and the lower back, just let the stomach go. Feel the muscles just letting go. Again, there's nothing else to do, just notice the letting go. Then taking the attention up into the chest area and the upper back. Noticing the chest area and the upper back. And then tightening the chest area and the upper back. Not too tight, but tight that your mind can feel the tension. So your mind knows what that tension feels like. And keeping your mind on that, then just letting the muscles drop. Letting the mind notice the difference between the tightness and the just letting go. Then taking the attention into the hands. And if you're happy to, screwing the hands up into fists. Letting your mind feel that tension in your hands. And when your mind's really connected with that tension, then laying your hands flat out on your legs. Keeping your mind on your hands, letting the attention rest there, and just feel the muscles letting go, lengthening. Then taking the attention into the arms, seeing what the arms feel like as they are right now. Then tightening the arms, the forearms and the biceps, feeling the tightness in them, and letting the mind stay on that tightness. Let the mind know that level of tension. And then when you're ready, just let your arms do nothing. Let the tension go in your arms. And let your mind feel that. Let your mind just notice that letting go. Then taking your attention into your shoulders, noticing what your shoulders feel like. And then tightening your shoulders and bringing your shoulders right up to your ears. And let your mind connect with that tension with your shoulders up at your ears. And keeping your mind trained on your shoulders at this point, suddenly drop your shoulders. And let your mind feel the muscles just letting go. Don't have to do anything else, just notice. Then taking the attention into the jaw area, noticing the jaw, whether it's tight or loose. And then if you want to, just gently tightening the jaw enough to feel a bit of tension in the jaw. And when you can feel a bit of tension in the jaw, keeping your mind on the jaw area, and then just dropping the bottom jaw. And letting your mind notice the difference. Just being curious of the difference. Then taking the attention into the eye area. And with the eyes, just gently screwing the eyes up, not too tight, but enough that you feel tension in the forehead and in the eyes. And when your mind's really connected with that, you can feel the tension, letting your eyes soften. Just noticing the difference. There's nothing you have to do other than notice the difference. Then letting your attention go to your mind. Noticing what's happening in your mind and do nothing about what's happening in your mind. So if your mind's really busy, there's nothing you have to do about it. If your mind's falling off to sleep, there's nothing you have to do about that. So just letting your mind do whatever it wants to do. Might be lost in conversation, but just do nothing about that. So there is nothing you have to do. Allowing whatever's happening to happen and do nothing about it. Even if there's thoughts, images, letting them come, do nothing about them. Even if they stay, just do nothing. There's nothing you have to do. Just allowing whatever happens to happen. And if there's anything in your body that's happening, just do nothing about it. So the real clear instruction here is you just don't have to do anything. There's nothing you have to do. No matter what your mind or body does, there's nothing you have to do. Then we're going to slightly alter it at the moment. What I want you to do now is I want you to scan through your body and I want you to find the most relaxed part of your body. So it might be your hands that are more relaxed, even though they might not even be relaxed. Or it might be your feet that are more relaxed. And what I want you to do now, when you can find the most relaxed part of your body, remembering it doesn't have to be relaxed, but more relaxed than anywhere else. And I want you to shift your attention to rest on the most relaxed part of the body. And again, I want you to shift your attention to land on the most relaxed part of the body. And again, bringing your attention back to the most relaxed part of the body. And again, bringing your attention back to the most relaxed part of the body. And again, bringing your attention back to the most relaxed part of the body. If you have thoughts or you'll get sleepy, don't do anything about that. Just gently bring the attention back to the most relaxed part of the body. And again, bringing the attention back to the most relaxed part of the body. And if other parts of your body are agitated or anxious, do nothing about them. Accept them, just let them be there and do nothing. And bring your attention back to the most relaxed part of the body. There's nothing to do other than bring the attention to the most relaxed part of the body. And again, bringing your attention back to the most relaxed part of the body. Nothing else you have to do other than bring your attention back to the most relaxed part of the body. And if you get lost in daydreams or thoughts, do nothing about them. Just notice and bring your mind back to the most relaxed part of the body. Actually resting on the sensations of the most relaxed part of the body. And again, bringing your attention back to the most relaxed part of the body. And again, bringing your attention back to the most relaxed part of the body. Just feeling sensation of the most relaxed part of the body. If there's other feelings in the rest of your body, don't do anything about them and just gently bring the attention back to the most relaxed part of the body. And again, coming back to the most relaxed part of the body. And again, just coming back to the most relaxed part of the body. There's nothing else that has to be done other than just come back to the most relaxed part of the body. Whatever else is happening in your body, just letting that be, being your own best friend by just letting it be there, and bringing the attention back to the most relaxed part of your body. If your mind gets sleepy, you're just still trying to bring your attention back to the most relaxed part of the body, but do nothing about whatever else is happening. Bring the attention back to the most relaxed part of the body. And again, just bringing the attention back into the most relaxed part of the body. And again, just bring the attention back into the most relaxed part of the body. Then just bring the attention down into your feet for a moment. And we're gently going to close that meditation or that process. And just gently opening your eyes when you're ready without too much quickness about it. So that is it's not meditation and you don't have to do anything in it. I'm just interested if anyone wants to comment on what they found in it. Felt like you were floating, yeah. Okay. And it won't be the same for everyone. This meditation, like a glass of water, it's not a meditation. We're not trying to relax, we're not trying to do anything. We're just trying to bring our attention to different things. And when the mind integrates with the letting go of muscles, because the mind's used to having tension up here when we're anxious and quite overwhelmed, and it resists against it. And sometimes if the mind just integrates with the letting go, it feels something different. So there were 3 different meditations or 3 different processes in that. And there was one in the middle where you just don't have to do anything about anything. Okay, because a lot of the time we're trying to fix and change things. So that meditation, I'll call it an exercise because it's not really a meditation, is when we end up in anxiety, we can often end up in deeply overwhelmed anxiety. And when we're in overwhelmed, I'll talk about this, overwhelmed anxiety, and we have management strategies. And then we have somewhere in the middle where we're able to tolerate feelings. So when we get overwhelmed, what happens is, and I don't know whether people have got to this point, where the anxiety is ongoing and it's overwhelming. It's like hell on earth. You can't sleep. You're always continually woken. You're having dreams. It's disrupted. There's constant rumination going on. You're always on guard and hypervigilant, and you're trying to fix or you're trying to sort it out. You feel tired, but you're kind of wired all the time. Some people get a major loss of weight through this period. And there's sort of a paranoid thinking comes where lots of stories are happening in your head and you really believe them. And it just sort of feels there's no way out of it. The body's consistently releasing cortisol and adrenaline. And sometimes for some people, any stimulation is just too much stimulation. Watching the TV just ramps the nervous system up. So when you're in this place of overwhelm, there are three brains that we have. We have a reptilian brain, and the reptilian brain is like the animal brain, and it's the five senses. And it senses danger, it senses threat. And then you've got the mammalian brain, and it's all about feeling. And then you've got the thinking brain. When we're in the place of that overwhelm of anxiety where we sometimes can't even get out the door, we're finding it hard to function, the neocortex, the thinking brain, goes offline. So trying to do certain things at this point doesn't kind of work. So during that process, one of the things I did, and I know I've got a cold so I don't sound very good, but a bit of a nasal voice, some of it is about the voice that you hear, if it's calmer, the warmth, the constant just coming back to something, is working on the reptilian brain to say, hey, it's okay, it's safe. Because the reptilian brain and the mammalian brain at that point can't hear words. So trying to tell someone who's really deeply anxious, it'll be okay, works for a while, but the reptilian brain has taken over and the mammalian brain and the neocortex have gone offline. Now sure, there's a real key in this. If there's a real threat, you have to deal with it. It's not like you can just meditate if there's real threat and anxiety will sort itself. It won't. If there's real threat, it's about understanding the threat. But the real key in that sort of overwhelm is we need a bottom-up approach that makes the mammalian and the reptilian brain feel safe. And a big thing is when anxiety is really honking along, we need to bring the nervous system down. We need to bring it back to some sort of window of tolerance that we can bear. There's a need, I don't know if any of you noticed or any of you had the effect that your mind actually went a bit off guard when we did that last exercise. Did anyone have that? And that's actually what we're trying to achieve, because when we're anxious, our mind is on guard, we're hypervigilant the whole time, doing things, looking for ways to fix it, what's the threat, and we kind of just get caught in that arousal state. So one of the keys when we're really in overwhelm is learning to let our mind actually go off guard. And mindfulness and CBT, and I say people trying to fix themselves because I'm a fixer, at this point can be really unhelpful. And why it's unhelpful, sometimes mindfulness can be helpful for some people in that state, but for others it can just make it worse because they can't let go of the thoughts. The thoughts just keep ramping back at them, and they should let go because they're trying to do mindfulness, and it can actually create some hypervigilance again in trying to let go. And then also a lot of what's being taught too is putting non-judgmental awareness onto when we feel the difficulty in our bodies. And I teach this too, but it's pretty hard to put awareness on a really tense part of the body because it intensifies for most of us. But in that meditation, what we did was we put it onto a very relaxed part, or not very relaxed, more relaxed than the tense part of the body. And say for me, sometimes it can be my hands. And while you're doing that and you're bringing the attention back here, the part of the body that's really tense, you kind of just accept it's there and you don't do anything about it, which is in a sense indirectly accepting it's there. Rather than what we normally do when that choking, horrible feeling's there, we just want to get rid of it and we tighten up against it. So by indirectly sitting with something else, sometimes helps us to sit with that direct experience of intense anxiety. Sorry about my voice. Therapy that deals with the real threat at this point when we're in overwhelm is helpful. Therapy that opens up old wounds is incredibly unhelpful at this point because it just ramps the nervous system. If we're already anxious, and we open something that's going to ramp us up further, we're not going to tolerate it. So again, it's about bringing down the nervous system. And often I'll talk about the threat of self-harm and aggression, how that ramps the nervous system up as well. Because sometimes when we're in that state of overwhelm, we can be quite critical and hard on ourselves. Okay. So, in this overwhelmed state, what's really good that helps is if we can do a meditation where we're not trying to relax. Because if we're trying to relax, paradoxically, we're going to tighten up. And I think most people know that. So in that meditation, it's not really about relaxing, it's just being about curious about what the body and mind do when you work them together. And understanding, it's really important, acceptance, actually accepting something is what allows us to go off guard and actually helps us a lot. But it's very hard to do if you do it directly. I'm going to talk about management strategies now to stabilise anxiety when we're in overwhelm. Management is anything that we do to try and control the anxiety. So a lot of things we do to try and control the anxiety, and I'll go through it in the next slide, but I'll talk about it now. We use drugs, we use alcohol, we use the TV to get away from the feelings. We might, phobias are a way of controlling anxiety. If I don't go near that thing, I don't have to feel these feelings. OCDs are possibly another way that we manage it. If we put that and that, we get that moment of relief and we feel like we've got some control. So management strategies aren't always bad. They actually sometimes help us to stay out of overwhelm. And running is another one. So even like if we go for a run, we can move out of anxiety, and it is a management strategy. So management strategies aren't good or bad. It depends how they're used and how they help us. So the key in overwhelm is somehow learning just to be with the feelings in a more manageable way. So watching the TV, sometimes if that distracts us away from the feelings and takes us out of that deep overwhelm, that we can then tolerate the feelings later, then so be it. There's a process we can use. Yep, so the problem is when people stabilise out of that massive overwhelm and they start to feel okay again, there's no way they want to go back and feel feelings again. So the fear kind of haunts in the back of their mind that this overwhelm is going to return again at some point. And the key to really help, or what has helped me in life, and I've seen, is not to let, or not to not let, you can't not let, but to work out when overwhelm is happening and use management strategies to pull you out of it. And okay, we talked about the management strategies because they can bring a person back to some stability. And sure, if you're in overwhelm and you actually can sit with that meditative process and sit indirectly with the difficulty, you will find there is a way of actually working through it without having to move into management strategies. But it takes a bit of background work to do that. So that brings us back to here. So we've got overwhelm management strategies. If we're in management strategies, what we need to do is work out a way that, a window of tolerance where we can actually tolerate the feeling a little bit, just enough, that we can embody it for a little bit. And I know this sounds odd, but you can get a discharge of the anxiety, or we can have what we call a corrective experience. And sometimes we get new insights about the anxiety. But my point here is, so when we're in the management strategy side, that is a brilliant time to use mindfulness, and a brilliant time to use mindfulness of the body. When we're in overwhelm, the real key, what we want to do is let our mind either go off guard or distract our way out of it till we get to a window of tolerance. Which leads us to the next thing, finding and trusting our own inner knowing. So this for me has been really strong in my path. It's quite difficult sometimes to trust your inner knowing, and sometimes it's quite difficult to know what your inner knowing is. But our inner knowing is sometimes what can actually pull us out of it. Now I'm going to try and do is Cindy here? I'm going to try and do something may or may not work. So come out. And this is relational mindfulness, and this can be very helpful therapeutically. So if you stand over there, a bit further back.
Excuse me?
Yeah?
How do you identify your window of tolerance?
Okay, when you're feeling really overwhelmed, like the anxiety's there, and you're feeling really uncomfortable, but you want to get rid of it, you're kind of on either outside of your window of tolerance, or you're kind of on the edge of it.
But what do you mean by window of tolerance?
What you can bear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, what you can bear.
Thank you very much
Yeah.
for just breaking that down.
Okay. So what I'm going to do here, now I just want you to watch Cindy.
And I'm not feeling anxious.
I want you to tell me to stop when you're uncomfortable.
Okay.
Do you want me to stop?
It's okay.
What do you want me to do?
How big's your next step going to be? Okay.
Okay,
Stop there.
who can tell me what happened then? Are you okay with this?
Yeah, yeah.
So who can tell me what you saw Cindy's body doing? Yeah. So somewhere back here, I saw Cindy's eyes go, oh my goodness. And then when I came here, it was like, there was a glare at me. And then when I came here, I could feel, you could see it too, couldn't you? And then it's like, oh, how much a big step? Yes, okay, maybe. Okay. Now, now that's all I need.
Okay.
So it was as simple as that. What we do, we all override. Can you see the body spoke before she spoke?
Yes.
And that's what's so important. This is where relational mindfulness, which means someone who can help you see sometimes what your body's actually doing that you're not tuning into, and then you're overriding. How many of us say yes to everything? How many of us have a never-ending yes, and then we get so anxious because we can't say no and we don't know how to get out of what we're in? Yeah? Yeah, and it's a major part of anxiety is we learn not to trust this inner being. We know. Even when we're really deeply, deeply anxious, in some of my worst places of anxiety, I have known what is right and wrong. And I can guarantee the anxiety got worse every time I just stepped over my body wisdom. Yeah? So you're okay now. Thank you very much. So a real key here is the body wisdom talks to us. How do we tune in more to our body wisdom? The body knows. You watch people when you talk to them. Yes, you can come closer and their hands are like, yes, or they'll be down here, you know, or their eyes, they'll be like that little glare that says, why are you coming closer? Yeah. Now, sometimes people aren't even picking that up in themselves, but as soon as you help to make someone aware of it, I know for me, as soon as I became aware of my body wisdom, it made a big difference in me being able to call a line on what I was doing, yeah, and tune into it. Okay, but then there's the difficulty. You know you want to say no, and how do you say no? Okay, and sometimes if you actually use the body to help you understand to say no, because the body sometimes, if someone's really not where you want them to be, and you actually kind of relax into your body, this is hard concepts to get across. You don't use your mind. You just let your body, and your body will go, I don't want, like your body will have a movement, your body will talk. And when you kind of tune into that a bit more, it gives you a little bit more courage to actually follow what you need to do for yourself. Because with anxiety, for me, I overrode in one area when, I won't go into it because it'll take too much time, and it caused extreme anxiety when I knew I needed to say no, which also relates to is when we try to convince our heads of something our hearts know is a lie. So really tuning into that is really helpful. And if you get someone who can actually, or you learn to read your own body, the body will actually help you enormously in that wisdom. And hence, the mindfulness of the body. I don't know, have many of you done mindfulness?
Yeah, currently I'm in a group for mindfulness.
Okay, beautiful.
And the senses.
Beautiful. So when you learn to really tune into your body, where am I tense? Where do I hold my tension? You know, tension is before action. But often tension override no action. And so when we start to work in with our body, we start to become more tuned in. And also the mindfulness of thoughts is really important. So going here, okay, time is going to run out, so I'll go to this next one. Holding the mind of fear in the heart of loving compassion. How many of us, when we're really... So I know for me, when I was in a bit of a state, and I said to myself, I shouldn't be in this state. This is just stupid being in this state. Get out of it. How many of us get angry with someone when they tell us to snap out of it? How many of us tell ourselves to snap out of it? So once with my inner critic, I watched it. And it's Kirsten Neff does a lot of this work, if some of you want to read up on her. And I can remember watching my inner critic, and what it was trying to do was help me get back on track. So it was saying, you should do this, you should be doing that, and then you'll be right, you should do this. But where I was, there's no way I could do that. So the mindfulness of that inner critic became really important to hear. And it's a bit like a form of aggression too. Sometimes when we get into a state of anxiety, we wish we weren't there. We wish we could just get away from it, whatever that means about us as a person. But imagine if my best friend is saying, I wish you weren't here. I wish you'd just leave. You should just get rid of this. You should just sort yourself out. And the nervous system ramps up under that sort of threat. Does that make sense to people? So loving kindness, and I know people have talked about this, is really, really important. Because if we don't have loving kindness to ourselves, we've got no best friend. We're going to be with ourselves for the rest of our lives. But loving kindness isn't easy. So some need to go, I'm just going to be kind and love myself, when you're used to like the harsh critic the whole time. But a real key is, this is where mindfulness of thought helps. Even if you can see the critic, and you can see the critic then makes you feel very down or even more anxious, you could weigh up, is that critic really helping you or is it hindering you? And you can see too, sometimes the critic, my critic's quite subtle, it'll set quite high goals for me that I can never reach. Okay, and you're kind of trying to catch it the whole time, and this is where the mindfulness of thought comes in. I won't go too much into mindfulness. I'll just say this. So with meditation and mindfulness, there is the coming into the moment, and that's a really important part of mindfulness. And there's a second arm to mindfulness, which is the insight to what we're thinking and how we're seeing the world. And they're one and the same, but you can focus on one or the other. So sometimes when we're mindful, if we just remind ourselves to be mindful of the inner critic and see what it's saying to us, we don't even have to do anything about it at that point. Awareness is a real key. When we start to become aware of what it's actually doing to us, awareness sometimes will answer it by itself. And mindfulness is awareness, because it's remembering to be aware of that. And mindfulness is kind of confusing because there are a lot of different definitions at the moment for it. So, because I am running out of time, the meditation I started to work with, and I'm going to read it because I do a different meditation in my life now, but the meditation I really started to work with when I first brought loving kindness in was on an understanding. I found it quite difficult to be kind to myself to begin with. Very difficult. So if you're all happy to close your eyes again, I'll just take you through this. Again, this is a bit of a different meditation. It does allow for thinking. But just see if you can go with it. Don't be too analytical yet. You could take this meditation away if it suited you and do it and think on it then. Okay. So just with your eyes closed, letting your mind go to the breath if you're comfortable with the breath. If you're not comfortable with the breath, just leave the breath out of this and do it as best you can without it. But I'm going to base it a little bit on the breath. So just letting your mind go to the breath and see if you can accept it just as it is. Don't worry if it's too shallow or too deep. Don't force anything. Just allow the breath to be as it is, with a level of loving acceptance. And if loving acceptance is too hard, then just the aspiration for loving acceptance is where we begin. The natural and kind attitude of acceptance is actually the foundation that's necessary for loving kindness. We're going to use key phrases to remind us of our intentions, because key phrases are things that remind us, make us mindful to remember. So in conjunction with the in-breath, if you want to, gently, softly reciting to yourself, may I be kind to myself. May I be kind to myself. May I aspire to be kind to myself if I can't be kind to myself. May I aspire to be kind to myself. And on the out-breath, may I be kind to myself. If we generate loving acceptance, it's a way of clearing the mind of resistance of what is happening. So while still aware of the breath, just trying as best you can to bring the attitude of kind, non-judging acceptance to the felt experience of your entire body right now. Breathing in, may I aspire to be kind to myself. Breathing out, may I be kind to myself. Aspiring for loving acceptance to come alive in the physical aspects of the body, however your body is, relaxed or tense, at ease, sore and aching, strong or weak, fat or thin, healthy or sickly. Whatever you could say about your body, wish that you can drop any judgment or assessment and aspire just to accept the perception and experience of your body exactly as it is right now, however that might be. Breathing in, may I aspire to be kind to myself. Breathing out, may I be kind to myself. In an attitude of loving acceptance of this body and mind, try to see the experience of the body being just the way it is, and offer this body as best you can an all-embracing attitude of acceptance. You can, if you want to, affirm your experience by repeating, I completely allow this body to be just the way it is. And if you can't do that, I aspire to allow this body to be just the way it is. Breathing in, may I aspire to be kind to myself. Breathing out, may I be kind to myself. I aspire to allow this body to be precisely the way it is with loving acceptance, trying to relax into the kind and embracing attitude while maintaining an awareness of your breath. If you can, let loving, kind, accepting attention flow through, bathe and wash the entire body and mind. May I be well, may I be kind to myself. Then bringing to mind the perception of your mind, trying to deal with anxiety and aspiring to manage anxiety. See if you can drop any judgment in relation to lofty goals, such as I shouldn't be having anxiety. I can get rid of it altogether. And instead of this, see if you can appreciate your courage to be searching for a way to work with the anxiety. And see if you can accept with true kindness your current level of coping, whatever it might be. or whether you can aspire to accept your current level of coping, whatever it might be. Understanding that this attitude will nourish your efforts. Breathing in, may I be kind to myself when I feel anxious. May I learn to work with the fear so I can become, in good time, fearless in the face of fear. May I aspire to be kind to myself. May I aspire to be kind to my body. May I aspire to be kind to my mind. And may I aspire to be kind to myself. And may I really be kind to myself. And then when you're ready, just gently opening your eyes. That meditation can be done. I do that meditation when I walk my dog quite often, as I'm just walking along. You don't have to sit down and make it really hardcore anything. You just do it. It's just the memory. May I be kind to myself. May I try to be kind to myself. And just see how those words might permeate life and what happens. Now, like I said at the start, horses for courses. This will work for some. So it was just a few reflections. 40.